My best friend Anna was known as her family's personal assistant, and everyone thought she was too slow to notice. She was being used because she was autistic, but when she got pneumonia and went to the hospital, she did the math and realized she'd worked 31,200 unpaid hours in 15 years. When her family visited the hospital, they only came to complain about missed appointments and ask where she kept things, so she started canceling every single account she managed for them from her hospital bed. My best friend Anna was known as her family's personal assistant. She learned to do taxes when they pinged them on her last second, researched holidays that weren't even for her, and handled all the paperwork. She was also autistic, brilliant with patterns and systems, so everyone around her thought she was too slow to notice when she was being used. But then she got sick. She went camping in the woods one January and came back with pneumonia that turned severe. Her left lung partially collapsed. "Can you text my family?" was the first thing she wheezed. "Tell them I made instruction sheets. Everything's labeled. They just need to handle their own things for maybe 2 weeks." I was in awe. She was more worried about Tom's retriever getting his arthritis medication than the fact she couldn't breathe without oxygen. I sent the group text. Nobody responded for 6 hours. When they did, it was her niece Caitlin asking where she kept the spare house keys. Not how she is. Not what room are you in, just where are the keys. They actually visited on day 2 of her being hospitalized, but her nephew Tom only showed up for 5 minutes. Didn't even take his coat off. "Anna, where's Katie's softball uniform? The blue one." She was lying there with oxygen tubes, heart monitor beeping, and he was standing in the doorway like he was here to pick up mail. Anna gave him detailed directions from memory. 3rd drawer, left side, in the mesh bag with her cleats. He was texting before she finished talking, left without a goodbye. A few days later came a second visit. Caitlin and her sister stormed in already pissed. "The dogs are costing us $400 in boarding fees because you didn't arrange anything." Caitlin's actually waving the receipt at Anna. Her sister jumped in. "Marcus missed his root canal. You know he can't remember these things himself." Anna's wheezing out apologies, trying to problem solve from her hospital bed, telling them about the emergency kennel list in her phone, the dentist's rescheduling policy. Her oxygen alarm went off twice. They didn't even pause their complaints. Sister's parting shot. Some people just can't handle stress, I guess. They left after 20 minutes. Visiting hours went for another 3. Anna looked at me and said, "I should have prepared better." I remember sitting there holding her hand a few days later when her whole family showed up with actual notebooks, like they'd coordinated their grievances. Caitlin started listing the disasters, missed appointments, forgotten school pickups, Tom's daughter crying because nobody knew her piano lesson was moved. Some eye-hole I'd never seen. Apparently her cousin complained about the late fees on bills Anna usually paid. Her sister kept sighing about how expensive it was to hire help. Nobody asked about her infection markers, her collapsed lung, the fact she'd lost 12 pounds in a week. Caitlin finally said it. "We really need you back by Thursday, Anna. This is getting ridiculous." That's when I saw it. Anna's face just changed, like watching someone solve a puzzle they'd been staring at their whole life. "You think I don't understand what you're doing?" Tom laughed, that nervous laugh when someone's caught. "Anna, what are you? You think because I'm autistic? I don't know you're using me." The sister tried her sweet voice. "Honey, you're confused from the medication. 31,200 hours. Anna's voice was clear suddenly. No wheeze. "I've done the math. Worked 31,200 unpaid hours in 15 years. I memorized every single one." Caitlin rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. Name one thing." Anna pushed herself up in bed. "Name one thing any of you have done for me." Silence. "You told people I needed routine. You told them you were helping me." That same eye-hole tried to interrupt, but Anna wasn't done. "I thought being useful meant being loved, and you knew that. You counted on it." That's when I stood up. "She's right. You've been treating her like free labor while pretending it's charity." Her sister turned on me. "This isn't your business." "It is now," I said. "I've watched you exploit her for years. She's brilliant. She knows exactly what you've been doing. She just loved you too much to admit it." Anna looked at each of them. "Get out." Caitlin started to argue, but Anna hit the nurse call button. "Get out." Security escorted them out. Anna looked at me, and for the first time in 15 years, she smiled. Really smiled. "Call my lawyer." Before I knew it, Anna was sending them all to their graves, locking out of family cloud accounts that had all their passwords, asking her lawyer how she could cancel all of their insurances. She was set on them making them pay, and I was here for the ride. James Mitchell showed up at the hospital in less than 2 hours with this huge leather folder stuffed with papers. Anna was still hooked up to oxygen, but she'd pushed herself up in bed and started listing everything she managed for her family. She knew every single account number from memory, every password, every due date. I watched her go from sick patient to someone planning a war. James was writing everything down while Anna told him she was the actual account holder on Tom's home insurance because he'd said it was easier if she handled it. Same with Caitlin's car insurance. Rachel's medical insurance too. They'd all convinced her years ago that since she was good with details, she should just manage everything. Her voice got stronger with each thing she listed. Anna told James to start cancellation notices on all the policies right away. 30 days notice like the law required. She knew they wouldn't even notice until the bills showed up. James confirmed she had total legal authority since she was the primary account holder on everything. That evening I helped Anna change every single password on the family cloud storage. Netflix got changed, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, Apple TV, Spotify, even their shared Google Drive where she'd stored years of tax documents they'd need. Her hands were shaking, but not from being sick. She whispered that they'd told her it was helping her maintain routine. Anna's phone started going crazy with notifications as her family members got logged out of everything. Tom texted asking what was wrong with Netflix. Caitlin called 3 times about Amazon Prime. Rachel sent angry messages about the cloud storage. Anna just turned her phone to silent and kept working on her laptop. James had told her to document everything, so she was making lists of every financial thing she'd been handling. The next morning, the nurse brought Anna breakfast and mentioned how much better she looked. Anna actually ate the whole meal instead of picking at it like before. She showed me these spreadsheets she'd made overnight with everything color-coded by family member. Tom's stuff was blue. Caitlin's was pink. Rachel and Marcus were green. Every bill, every subscription, every service laid out perfectly. Tom burst into the hospital room around noon, totally pissed about Netflix. He was yelling that Sophie was in the middle of her show and now she couldn't watch it. Anna didn't even look up from her laptop. She just said Sophie could watch shows at his house on his account. Tom stood there for like 30 seconds with his mouth open before storming out. Anna went back to reviewing bank statements and found something weird. Marcus had been using her HSA account to pay for his therapy appointments for 3 years. He'd told her it counted as family medical expenses, and she'd believed him. She added it to the list for James, who was apparently building a case for financial exploitation. I went down to the cafe that afternoon and got Anna her favorite tea. When I came back, she was staring at her laptop screen. She told me about how she'd maintained everyone's calendars for years. She knew their schedules better than her own. She said she thought being indispensable meant being loved. While she was going through more bank statements, Anna found these recurring transfers she didn't recognize. She dug deeper and realized Caitlin had been using Anna's emergency credit card for monthly subscriptions, gym memberships, some meal delivery service, a bunch of streaming services Anna didn't even know existed, $400 every single month. Anna took screenshots of everything. She was still scrolling when her phone rang and James's name popped up on the screen. He told me the insurance cancellations were already processing, but there was a problem. Anna had co-signed Tom's auto loan 2 years ago during some family emergency she'd forgotten about. She rubbed her eyes and said she remembered now. Tom crying about losing his job and needing reliable transportation. James said he'd work on removing her name, but it would take time with the bank's bureaucracy. The next morning was day 3 of her recovery, and Anna's breathing was finally getting better. She only needed the oxygen tube thing at night now, which was huge progress from before. She spent the whole morning showing me her organizational systems on her laptop, not for her family anymore. These were color-coded spreadsheets for her own bills, appointments, and personal projects she'd been ignoring for years. She had this whole filing system she'd never used for herself, always too busy managing everyone else's lives. Around noon, Rachel burst through the door with Marcus trailing behind her looking angry. Rachel started yelling before she even got to Anna's bed about the insurance being canceled. Marcus's root canal was tomorrow, and now they'd have to pay out of pocket for everything. Anna stayed calm and explained they had 27 days to get their own policies set up. Rachel called her selfish and heartless while Marcus stood there glaring at both of us. Anna pressed the nurse call button and asked for security to remove them from her room. I'm trying to figure out how Anna remembered all those account numbers and passwords without writing them down. Does her brain just hold on to details differently because she's autistic? They were still shouting threats about lawyers and family loyalty as the guards walked them out. After they left, Anna opened her text messages and started forwarding years of conversations to James. There were hundreds of messages, all demands and guilt trips and last-minute emergencies she had to handle. Can you handle Dad's taxes? From Rachel. Sophie needs pickup now. From Tom. Dog's out of food again. From Caitlin. Not a single message asking how Anna was doing or if she needed anything herself. She forwarded everything, creating a massive digital trail of exploitation James could use for documentation. The respiratory therapist came in around 3 for Anna's breathing exercises, and she was really nice. Between sets of deep breathing, Anna told her about the camping trip that started all this. She'd been so exhausted from handling everyone's holiday planning that she went camping alone in January. She just needed one weekend to herself, but the cold and exhaustion weakened her immune system. The therapist shook her head and said stress was a major factor in respiratory infections. Anna's phone suddenly buzzed with a fraud alert from her credit monitoring service. Someone had tried to open a credit card in her name using her social security number. The application details showed Caitlin's phone number and email address as the contact information. Anna immediately called James, who said this was identity theft, and he'd add it to his growing documentation. That evening, I helped Anna create a master list of everything she'd been managing for her family. We sat there for hours going through her calendar and notes from the past few years. Birthday reminders, anniversary planning, appointment scheduling, prescription refills, school events, work deadlines her family couldn't remember themselves. The list filled 12 pages single-spaced, and we weren't even done yet. Anna had been everyone's unpaid personal assistant while working her own full-time job as a data analyst. Day 4 started with Anna's doctor coming in looking pleased with her lung function tests. He said her recovery was going well, but mentioned concern about her stress levels affecting healing. Anna actually laughed, a real laugh I hadn't heard in years. She told him she felt less stressed now in the hospital than she had in 15 years. The doctor looked confused until she explained she wasn't managing 30 people's lives anymore. That afternoon, Tom sent a group text to the whole family claiming Anna had lost her mind. He said she needed a psychiatric evaluation and maybe involuntary commitment for her own safety. Anna read it out loud to me and then typed back a single response to everyone. My mind is fine. It's my boundaries that have been missing. She put her phone down and smiled at me. Later, James called with another discovery that made Anna go pale. She had power of attorney for her elderly father's affairs, something Rachel had pushed onto her years ago. Anna had been managing his care facility payments, medical appointments, and all his finances completely alone. Rachel and Tom never helped, but would definitely come after that money if something happened to him. Anna grabbed her phone and started scrolling through photos while I sat next to her bed. She showed me Christmas from 2 years ago, where everyone was sitting around the tree opening presents while she was visible in the corner carrying dirty plates to the kitchen. Another photo from Tom's birthday showed the whole family posed on the deck while Anna's hand was barely visible at the edge holding the camera. Photo after photo showed the same thing. Her cooking in the background while they celebrated, her cleaning up while they laughed, her organizing events she never got to enjoy. The one that really got me was last year's family portrait, where everyone wore matching sweaters, except Anna wasn't even in it because she was the one taking the picture. I was about to say something when we heard loud voices in the hallway, and Caitlin burst through the door with 2 police officers behind her. She pointed at Anna and started yelling about theft and stolen passwords and family property. The officers looked tired already. One of them pulled out a notebook and asked Anna for her side, while Caitlin kept interrupting with claims about criminal activity. Anna calmly explained she owned all the accounts and showed them the documentation on her laptop. The officer reviewed everything and turned to Caitlin with a warning about filing false police reports and wasting department resources. Caitlin stormed out, but not before threatening to come back with lawyers. Anna immediately called James, who arrived within an hour with paperwork to transfer her father's power of attorney to a professional fiduciary service. He explained it would take several weeks to process, but once complete, Anna would have 0 legal obligations to manage anything for her family. They went through page after page of documents while I watched Anna sign her name over and over, each signature removing another burden from her shoulders. The next morning, day 5 in the hospital, a social worker came to discuss discharge planning. She asked about Anna's home situation and support system. Anna mentioned she lived alone, and for once that didn't sound sad or lonely, but like freedom. The social worker made notes about home health services and follow-up appointments, while Anna actually smiled. That afternoon, Anna's phone buzzed with notifications from extended family members. Rachel had sent a mass email to aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone, claiming Anna was having a mental breakdown and abandoning her disabled father to die. The email was full of lies about Anna being unstable and vindictive. Anna forwarded it straight to James, who replied within minutes that this constituted defamation, and they now had grounds for a civil suit. Day 6 started with Anna going through her old tax returns on her laptop. She discovered Tom had been claiming her as a dependent for 3 years, getting thousands in tax credits while she'd been paying her own bills and filing her own returns. She pulled up the IRS website and started documenting everything. everything. James added tax fraud to his growing list of criminal activities the family had committed. When I arrived that afternoon, I found Anna standing in front of the bathroom mirror practicing saying no. She tried different tones, firm, calm, final, repeating the word over and over. The respiratory therapist who came in mentioned Anna's oxygen levels had improved dramatically since she'd started setting boundaries with her family. That evening, Anna got a call from her bank about suspicious activity on her HSA account. Someone had tried to access it online multiple times, triggering a security freeze. The bank traced the IP address, and Anna recognized it as Marcus's home computer. They recommended filing a police report for attempted theft, and Anna agreed. Over the next week, Anna worked on creating detailed transition documents for everything she'd been managing for years. She documented every bill, every appointment, every responsibility, but instead of sending them to her family, she sent them to the professional services she was hiring to replace herself. She found a senior care manager for her father, a dog walking service for Tom's pets, even a personal assistant service that could handle the kind of tasks she used to do. Each service cost money, but Anna didn't care because it wasn't her money being spent. When lunch arrived that day, Anna actually sat up properly and tasted her food instead of just swallowing it quickly. She told me she usually ate standing at the kitchen counter between tasks, never sitting for a real meal, never actually tasting anything. She took a bite of the hospital mashed potatoes and made a face, then laughed because she'd never known she didn't like mashed potatoes since she'd never paid attention before. That afternoon, James brought over boxes of paperwork from Anna's apartment, and we started sorting through everything on her hospital tray table. Anna pulled out folder after folder of receipts and bank statements she'd been keeping for years. Her hands started shaking when she added up the numbers on her calculator. She showed me the total, and I couldn't believe it. Over $50,000 in 5 years just gone to her family's expenses. Car repairs for Tom, Caitlin's college textbooks, Rachel's vacation deposits, Marcus's golf club membership, even Sophie's dance classes and summer camps. Anna checked her retirement account on her laptop, and the balance made her close her eyes. Nearly empty at 38 years old while she'd been paying for everyone else's life. James called right then with more bad news. Tom's car loan that Anna had co-signed was 3 months behind and heading into default. Her credit score had already dropped 40 points. James said he'd start the legal process to force Tom to refinance or give up the truck, but it would take time. Anna just nodded and kept sorting papers. The next morning, I got permission to take Anna outside in a wheelchair for fresh air. We went to the hospital garden, and she stopped moving when she saw the fountain. She watched the water for 10 minutes straight without talking. Then she noticed the birds hopping around the benches and pointed at them like she'd never seen birds before. An old couple was sitting on a bench just holding hands, and Anna stared at them too. She asked me if this was what normal people did with their time when they weren't running around fixing everyone's problems. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophie asking why she was being so mean to everyone and why she wouldn't help anymore. Anna typed back that adults needed to handle their own responsibilities, and parents should take care of their own kids. She deleted it 3 times before sending a shorter version. The insurance cancellation emails started coming through that afternoon. The way Anna's brain works with all those folders and receipts makes me wonder how she kept track of $50,000 worth of expenses without losing her mind. Did she have a special system for organizing everything, or just an amazing memory? Anna forwarded each one to the right family member with just a link to the insurance marketplace website. No explanations or apologies or offers to help them figure it out. Tom's car insurance, Rachel's homeowner's policy, even the life insurance she'd been paying on Marcus. All canceled effective end of month. 3 days later, Anna's doctor came in with her latest test results looking pleased. Her lung function had improved 20%, and her oxygen levels were staying stable without the high flow support. He made a joke about how getting rid of toxic people must be good for the lungs. Anna didn't mention she was starting to think he might be right. That evening, Anna was checking her email when she saw she'd been added to a new family group chat. Rachel had made it and forgotten to exclude her before sending the first messages. I watched Anna's face change as she read them, calling her broken and vindictive and saying her autistic brain couldn't understand normal family relationships. She took screenshots of everything before they realized their mistake and removed her. Anna called the forensic accountant James had recommended and hired him on the spot. She wanted every penny traced for the last 15 years. The preliminary report came back 2 days later, and even James looked shocked. Anna had subsidized over $200,000 while deleting her own savings and retirement. She'd been their bank account while they convinced her she needed them. That night, Anna told me about getting diagnosed at 25 and how her family's reaction should have been her first warning. They'd immediately started treating her like she was special in a way that meant she needed their help to function. But really, they'd trained her to be their servant while making her grateful for it. They'd used her diagnosis as a weapon to keep her in line. The next evening, Tom showed up at the hospital with a folder of legal papers and his lawyer friend from his bowling league. He wanted Anna to sign documents agreeing to keep a co-signed loan and continue making payments if he couldn't. Anna pressed the nurse call button and asked them to wait. James arrived within an hour with his own stack of papers showing Tom's pattern of financial fraud and abuse of a vulnerable adult. Tom's lawyer friend took one look at the documentation and told Tom they needed to leave immediately. The next morning, James called with news that made my stomach drop. The forensic accountant he'd hired had been digging through Rachel's finances and found something huge. Rachel had been collecting disability benefits from the state for 15 years, claiming she was Anna's full-time caregiver. The paperwork said Anna couldn't work, couldn't live alone, needed constant supervision. Meanwhile, Anna had been working 40 hours a week at the tech company, living in her own apartment, paying her own bills. The accountant calculated Rachel had collected over $180,000 in fraudulent benefits. Federal investigators would be getting involved now. Anna's phone started ringing non-stop after that. Family friends, church members, even her old high school teacher were calling to ask why she was destroying the family. Rachel had apparently been calling everyone, telling them Anna had lost her mind in the hospital, that the medication had made her paranoid. One caller actually asked if Anna needed to be committed for her own safety. Anna started recording every call, writing down names and times in a notebook. She was building evidence for a restraining order. 2 weeks had passed since she'd been admitted, and the doctors were amazed at her recovery. Her oxygen levels were perfect. Her lung had fully reinflated, and she could walk the hospital halls without getting winded. She made a joke to the nurse about finally being able to breathe now that she wasn't carrying everyone else's problems on her chest. The nurse didn't laugh, but I did. James wasn't wasting any time either. He filed formal complaints with the Department of Human Services about financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The investigation would take months to complete, but at least it was officially on record now. Every agency he contacted wanted documentation, and Anna had kept everything. Years of receipts, bank statements, text messages where family members demanded money or help. She'd been building this case without even knowing it. That afternoon, Anna pulled out a folder she'd brought from home and showed me her employment reviews from the past 5 years. Every single one was excellent. Her managers praised her problem-solving skills, her ability to create efficient systems, her attention to detail. One review specifically mentioned her exceptional project management abilities. She looked at me and said those 5 words that broke my heart. The next day brought another shock. The police cybercrimes unit had traced the identity theft attempt on Anna's credit cards back to an IP address. It was Caitlin's home computer. She'd tried to open 3 new credit cards in Anna's name while Anna was on oxygen support. The detective said they had enough evidence to press charges but needed Anna's approval. Anna sat there for 20 minutes just staring at the police report. Her own niece had tried to steal her identity while she was fighting to breathe. She signed the paperwork. The hospital set up their conference room for Anna to have a video call with a financial advisor James had recommended. Even with all the money her family had drained from her over the years, the advisor said she could rebuild if she stopped the bleeding now. Her credit was still decent. She had her job, and once she recovered the stolen funds through legal action, she'd be in better shape. For the first time since this all started, I saw real hope in Anna's eyes. The small things were what really got to me though. Anna started choosing what to watch on the hospital TV without asking anyone else's opinion first. She picked her meals from the menu based on what she wanted to eat, not what was cheapest or easiest. She even asked for extra dessert one night just because she felt like having chocolate cake. These tiny decisions seemed to exhaust her at first, like she was learning to walk again but emotionally. Then Rachel escalated everything. She hired a lawyer and threatened to contest their father's power of attorney transfer, claiming Anna was mentally incompetent due to her autism. The legal filing said Anna couldn't make rational decisions, that she needed a conservator, that the hospital had taken advantage of her diminished capacity. James responded within hours with Anna's employment records, her medical clearances from 3 different doctors, her cognitive assessment scores, and documentation of Rachel's disability fraud. Rachel's lawyer withdrew from the case the next day. By day 18, the discharge planner came to do Anna's final assessment. She noted Anna's remarkable recovery, both physically and emotionally. Anna told her she wasn't just recovering from pneumonia, she was recovering from 15 years of being treated like she wasn't a real person with real needs. The discharge planner added extra notes about Anna needing a safe living environment away from family members. The next morning, I brought Anna her mail from the past 3 weeks that had been piling up at her apartment. She spread the envelopes across her hospital bed tray and started sorting them into piles. Her hands moved quickly as she recognized each return address. This stack was Tom's car insurance that she'd been paying for 5 years. That one was Caitlin's gym membership she managed. Another pile grew with Marcus's business subscriptions she handled monthly. The biggest stack was bills for her dad's assisted living facility that she'd been managing alone. Anna counted 47 different accounts she was responsible for that weren't even hers. She looked at me and said she was done being their unpaid secretary. We started making a list of every password, every account number, every automatic payment she'd set up for them over the years. The door slammed open so hard it bounced off the wall. Marcus stood there red-faced and breathing hard. He pointed at Anna and started yelling about his insurance claim being denied because nobody filed the paperwork on time. Anna just stared at him from her hospital bed. Marcus took 3 steps toward her bed, demanding she call them right now and fix it. Anna pressed the nurse call button without breaking eye contact. Marcus raised his voice even louder, saying she was destroying his business on purpose. 2 security guards arrived within 30 seconds. Marcus tried to push past them to get to Anna's bed, but they grabbed his arms. Anna told them she wanted this documented for her restraining order petition. The guards dragged Marcus out while he screamed threats about suing her for sabotage. Anna added his name to the harassment log James had started for her. Later that afternoon, James called with good news. The professional fiduciary had reviewed Anna's dad's case and agreed to take over immediately. The transition would be complete within 30 days. Anna's shoulders dropped like someone had removed a 50-pound weight from them. She wouldn't have to manage his finances, medical decisions, or facility arrangements anymore. That night, I stayed late with Anna in her hospital room. She couldn't sleep, but it wasn't from worry or pain. Anna was excited for the first time in years. She grabbed a notepad and started writing lists of things she wanted to do. Take a pottery class on Tuesday nights when she used to do Tom's grocery shopping. Read fiction books instead of tax codes. Eat at restaurants alone without having to pick up takeout for everyone else. Join a hiking group on weekends. Learn to paint. Take a solo vacation somewhere nobody could reach her with their emergencies. Her pen flew across the paper, filling 3 pages with dreams she'd put aside. Rachel collecting disability money while Anna worked full-time is making my brain spin. How did she fill out those forms saying Anna couldn't work when Anna was literally at her job every day? The next morning, my phone buzzed with texts from Tom. His car had been repossessed from his driveway at 6 a.m. The texts got angrier with each message blaming Anna for ruining his life. I showed them to Anna, who didn't even flinch. She took my phone and forwarded the entire thread to James without typing a single response. Tom sent 12 more messages over the next hour, getting more unhinged with each one. Anna never replied to any of them. 3 weeks had passed since Anna's admission, and her doctor came in for rounds. He reviewed her latest chest x-ray and lung function tests with a smile. Anna was cleared for discharge in 2 days pending final respiratory therapy. She'd need weekly follow-up appointments, but her recovery had exceeded expectations. Anna immediately started planning her return home. She called a locksmith to change all her locks the day she got back. She contacted a security company about cameras for her apartment. She made a list of every place her family might try to ambush her and planned alternate routes. That evening, Anna finally admitted what had been worrying her. She was scared to leave the hospital because here she had built-in protection from her family. The security guards knew the situation and checked visitor lists. Nurses screened her calls. Her room was a safe zone they couldn't breach without consequences. We spent 2 hours creating safety plans for when she went home. Different grocery stores than her usual ones, new gym across town, working from home for the first month, blocking them on all social media, installing a video doorbell, getting a new phone number only 5 people would have. The next day, James called with shocking news. While reviewing Anna's finances, he'd discovered something suspicious about her mail. Several financial statements were missing from her records going back years. After investigating, he found that Rachel had been having Anna's mail forwarded to her own address for over 3 years. She'd been intercepting bank statements, investment reports, and tax documents. Rachel had hidden at least 4 accounts that Anna didn't even know existed. James said this was federal mail fraud, and he was filing a criminal complaint immediately. The postal inspector would be investigating within the week. Anna called her employer's HR department that afternoon to explain her situation. They transferred her to the employee assistance team, who took her case seriously. Within an hour, they'd approved remote work for her full recovery period. They also arranged for security to escort her in the building when she returned. Her badge would be flagged so her family couldn't claim to be visiting her at work. The security team would have their photos on file. HR even offered to have their legal team team write cease and desist letters if needed. On Anna's last full day in the hospital, the respiratory therapist came for her final treatment. She watched Anna's breathing exercises and checked her lung capacity one more time. The therapist made a comment about how Anna was breathing like someone who'd finally dropped a heavy load. Anna nodded because that's exactly what had happened. The next morning, I helped Anna take her first real walk around the hospital floor, and we made it down to the lobby when Caitlin stepped out from behind a pillar like she'd been waiting there for hours. Her face was red and puffy, and she grabbed Anna's arm before I could stop her. "You canceled our insurance, and now we can't afford coverage on our own," she said. Anna pulled her arm free and reminded her she'd had 3 weeks to arrange new coverage like any adult would. Caitlin called her heartless, and Anna just said she was being accountable for once. Security was already walking over, so Caitlin left, but not before throwing one last nasty look our way. Back in Anna's room, James called with news from the forensic accountant, and the final numbers made my stomach drop. Anna had subsidized over $200,000 in family expenses over 15 years, while they'd contributed exactly nothing to her life. Every receipt and bank statement was documented, and James said it would support both civil and criminal cases if Anna wanted to pursue them. We spent the afternoon packing up Anna's things, and I was amazed at how many cards and flowers had arrived from her coworkers once they'd heard what happened. The nurses had been bringing them in all week, and Anna just looked at them and said she'd gotten more support from strangers than from family. The day before discharge, things got crazy when Rachel showed up with some paperwork trying to have Anna placed on a psychiatric hold. She told the charge nurse that Anna was a danger to herself and needed mental evaluation before being released. The hospital's psychiatric team came within an hour, and after talking to Anna for maybe 20 minutes, they completely cleared her and noted in the file that the claim appeared retaliatory. Rachel was escorted out by security and banned from the hospital. James filed for restraining orders against Tom, Rachel, Marcus, and Caitlin that same afternoon, and the judge granted temporary orders immediately with a hearing scheduled in 2 weeks. Anna's last night in the hospital was quiet, and she sat by the window for hours just watching the city lights. She told me she used to watch these same lights from her apartment window, but was always too exhausted from doing everyone else's work to enjoy them. Now she just watched. The next morning, the family found out about the restraining orders, and Tom started sending messages through mutual friends trying to guilt Anna about how Sophie didn't understand why she couldn't see her aunt anymore. Anna didn't respond to any of them, and just maintained her boundaries like James had advised. Discharge day finally came, and Anna signed all the papers with a steady hand, while the social worker gave her resources for exploitation survivors. Anna actually joked that she needed a support group for reformed doormats, which made the social worker smile. I drove Anna home, and she insisted we stop at this little cafe she'd always wanted to try, but never had time for when she was running everyone else's errands. We sat there for 2 hours just talking about random stuff like the weather and movies, and it was perfect. When we finally got to her apartment building, Anna froze at her door because the lock had clearly been messed with. We called the police right away, and when they pulled the security footage, it showed Marcus trying to break in 3 days earlier with some kind of tool. The officer said that was another charge to add to the growing list, and changed Anna's locks right there while we waited. The locksmith guy also installed a whole security system with cameras at every entrance while Anna watched from her couch. She picked the most expensive package without even blinking. The cameras went up on her front door, back door, and even the fire escape. Anna told me she wasn't being paranoid, just realistic about who they really were. That first night after I left, she texted me that she ordered Thai food from her favorite place instead of the cheap Chinese that delivered fastest. She watched some documentary about ocean life that she'd been wanting to see for months. She went to bed at 9:30 because she was actually tired, not at midnight because that's when everyone else finally stopped needing things. 3 days later, James called with news that made Anna drop her coffee mug. The state of Oregon had opened a formal investigation into Rachel for disability fraud after finding out she'd been claiming benefits for taking care of Anna, while Anna was actually taking care of her. Federal investigators were getting involved because Rachel had filed claims across state lines when they visited relatives. The investigator told James they had enough evidence to press serious charges. Anna went back to work remotely a week after getting home. Her manager set up her laptop so she could work from bed if she needed to. Her coworkers sent her flowers and a card saying they missed her. She got more done in 3 days than she used to get done in 2 weeks without all the family interruptions. Her first therapy appointment was on a Tuesday morning. The therapist specialized in family exploitation of disabled adults. She listened to Anna's whole story without interrupting once. Then she looked Anna straight in the eye and said what Anna was experiencing was textbook financial and emotional abuse disguised as family helping family. Anna cried for 20 minutes straight. 2 weeks later, we had to go to the courthouse for the restraining order hearing. Rachel, Tom, Marcus, and Caitlin showed up with their own lawyer who kept calling Anna mentally unstable. James pulled out 3 boxes of evidence. Phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts. Bank statements showing the money Anna had given them. Medical records from the hospital showing how they'd harassed her while she was critically ill. The security footage of Marcus trying to break into her apartment. Their lawyer's face went white when he saw it all. The judge took less than an hour to decide. She granted permanent restraining orders against all 4 of them for 3 years. No contact whatsoever. Rachel stood up and screamed that Anna was dead to the family. Anna just said finally, loud enough for everyone to hear. The bailiff had to escort them out when Tom started yelling threats. That night, Anna found an online support group for autistic adults who'd been exploited by family. She stayed up until 3 in the morning reading other people's stories. So many families treated their autistic relatives like free labor while pretending they were doing them a favor. Anna wasn't alone in this. She posted her own story and got 50 responses in an hour. People telling her she was brave, that she deserved better, that cutting them off was the right choice. A week later, the police arrested Caitlin at her job for identity theft. Tom posted her $10,000 bail the same day, but the charges stuck. How did Rachel think she could forge documents for a psychiatric hold without any real medical backing? The way the hospital staff saw right through her scheme in just 20 minutes shows they must deal with fake family emergencies like this a lot. Anna felt guilty for about 5 minutes until she remembered that she didn't steal anything. She just reported what Caitlin did. The prosecutor said Caitlin was looking at real jail time. Anna's 1-month follow-up appointment showed her lung had completely healed. Her doctor said her overall health was better than it had been in years. Her blood pressure was down, she was sleeping 8 hours a night, and her anxiety medication could probably be reduced. The next week, Anna signed up for a pottery class at the community center. She walked in carrying a brand new apron she'd bought just for herself. The instructor showed everyone how to center clay on the wheel. Anna's first attempt flew off and hit the wall. She laughed so hard she almost fell off her stool. The woman next to her said pottery takes years to master. Anna told her she didn't care about mastering anything. She just wanted to make something ugly and enjoy it. Her bowl looked more like a wonky ashtray day, but she was grinning the whole time. The instructor said she had potential if she kept practicing. Anna said she wasn't interested in potential anymore, just fun. 2 days later, James called with news that made Anna sit down. Rachel had been formally charged with disability fraud by the federal prosecutor. They wanted Anna as their main witness. James explained this meant testifying in federal court about everything Rachel had done. Anna knew this would end any chance of fixing things with her sister. She told James yes anyway. The prosecutor called that afternoon and spent 3 hours going over Anna's story. He said Rachel had been collecting benefits, claiming Anna was completely dependent on her care. The evidence showed Anna had been working, paying bills, and managing everything herself. Anna agreed to testify and hung up feeling both sad and relieved. That weekend, she decided to host her first dinner party. She invited me and 2 of her coworkers from her new part-time job at the library. She made lasagna from a recipe she'd always wanted to try. Nobody complained when she served salad after the main course instead of before. Her coworker brought wine, and we sat around her small table talking about books. Anna didn't jump up once to refill drinks or clear plates. She just sat there enjoying her own party. Later, while cleaning up, she found a box of old photos in the closet. She spread them out on the coffee table and started looking through them. Every single photo showed the same thing. Anna in the background holding shopping bags while everyone else posed. Anna at the edge carrying dirty plates while others celebrated. Anna standing apart loading the car while the family hugged. She picked up one from her nephew's graduation. Everyone was crowded together smiling while Anna stood 3 feet away holding their coats. She said she'd never noticed before, but she was never actually in the circle. She was always the one taking the photo or getting something or cleaning up. She put the photos back in the box and shoved it deep in the closet. The next morning, her phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Sophie's voice on the other end asking if Aunt Anna could help with her science project. Anna's heart broke hearing her great niece's voice. Sophie said her dad told her to call because Anna always helped with homework. Anna realized Tom was using his daughter to violate the restraining order. She told Sophie she loved her but couldn't talk to her right now. Sophie started crying and Anna had to hang up. She called James immediately and reported the violation. James said he'd handle it and draft a letter for Sophie explaining things age appropriately. Anna spent the rest of the morning crying on her couch. 2 months after getting out of the hospital, Anna met with a forensic accountant James had recommended. They went through 15 years of bank records and receipts Anna had kept. The accountant calculated she'd provided over $300,000 in unpaid services. He helped her file civil suits against Rachel, Tom, and Marcus for financial restitution. He warned her the legal process would take years. Anna said she didn't care about getting money back. She wanted them to face consequences for what they'd done. That night, she told me something amazing. She was sleeping 8 hours straight without waking up. No more lying awake making mental lists of things to do for other people. No more panic attacks at 3 a.m. about forgetting someone's appointment. Just deep, peaceful sleep. She said her bed felt different when you weren't afraid of tomorrow. A week later, Marcus's lawyer called James about a plea deal. Marcus would plead guilty to attempted breaking and entering to avoid a trial. He'd get 2 years probation and have to complete anger management classes. The prosecutor said it was a good deal considering the evidence. Anna agreed because she wanted it over with. When she heard the judge accept Marcus's guilty plea, she felt something shift. The system had finally recognized that what he did was criminal, not just family drama. Meanwhile, the professional fiduciary James found had taken over Anna's father's care. The fiduciary sent monthly reports showing her father was getting 3 meals a day, proper medication management, and regular doctor visits. The facility staff said he seemed calmer without family visits that always upset him. Anna felt guilty, but the fiduciary reminded her that professional care was often better than family care. Her father was getting what he needed without the emotional chaos. 3 months later, Anna got the call she'd been dreading and anticipating. Rachel's federal fraud trial was starting, and Anna was scheduled to testify on day 3. She bought a simple blue dress and practiced her testimony with the prosecutor. On the stand, she spoke clearly about her job, her ability to manage her own life, and how Rachel had lied about her capabilities. She explained how Rachel had coached her to act more disabled during social services visits. The prosecutor showed evidence of Anna's work history, while Rachel collected disability payments for her care. When Rachel's lawyer tried to suggest Anna was confused, Anna listed every single task she'd done that week, including her taxes. The prosecutor called her remarkably credible and thanked her for her courage. The jury filed out while Anna gripped my hand so tight I thought she'd break my fingers. 3 hours later, they came back, and the judge asked them to read the verdict. Rachel stood there in her nice suit trying to look confident, but her hands were shaking. Guilty of disability fraud. The judge said she could face up to 5 years in federal prison plus fines that would wipe out her savings. Rachel's mouth dropped open like she couldn't believe this was actually happening to her. 2 weeks later, Caitlin took a plea deal for the identity theft charges. Her lawyer convinced her to accept 2 years probation and pay Anna back every penny she stole. The judge made her sign up for financial responsibility classes too. Anna sat there watching Caitlin cry about how unfair this was, and I saw her smile just a little bit. Tom's civil trial dragged on for another month, but the judge wasn't buying his sob story about not knowing what he was doing. The judgment came down for $75,000, and even when Tom declared bankruptcy, the judge said too bad, fraud judgments don't go away. His wages would be garnished for years. Letters started coming to Anna's apartment from cousins and aunts and uncles she hadn't heard from in forever. Some said they finally understood what she'd been through, and they were sorry for not seeing it sooner. Others blamed her for destroying the family and said Rachel's version was the real truth. Anna only wrote back to the supportive ones and started building relationships with people who actually cared about her. 6 months after that horrible day in the hospital, Anna walked back into her office for the first time. Her company had put in new security measures, and her coworkers formed this protective circle around her desk. Her boss called her into his office that first week back and promoted her to senior systems analyst with a $20,000 raise. The same job Rachel always said Anna was too slow to handle. We started having coffee every Tuesday at this little place near her office. She'd tell me about her pottery class where everything she made looked like a kindergartner did it, but she was getting better. She joined a book club and actually finished the books now instead of doing everyone else's homework. She went hiking alone on weekends and only had to worry about her own safety. One Thursday night, Anna invited me to her support group for exploitation survivors. She stood up in front of 15 people and told them her whole story from the beginning. When she got to the part about doing the math on those 31,000 hours, everyone gasped. She looked at them and said she spent 15 years believing her family's version of who she was, but now she was writing her own story. The first restitution check from Caitlin arrived the next month for $200. Anna looked at it for a long time, then wrote out a check to an autism advocacy group that helps prevent exploitation. Every month when those small payments came in, she'd send them right back out to help someone else. Her new apartment was half the size of her old place, but every single thing in it was hers. She picked out the blue couch because she liked it, not because someone told her what would look good. She arranged her kitchen exactly how she wanted it with her favorite mugs on display. There was no guest room because she didn't want anyone assuming they could just show up and stay anymore. The last time I saw Anna before writing this, she was at her pottery class on a Saturday morning. Her hands were steady as she shaped the clay into something that actually looked like a bowl this time. Sophie calling at 6 in the morning to ask for homework help makes me wonder if she really understands why her aunt can't talk to her anymore. Her phone sat silent on the table beside her with no text demanding her attention. No calls about someone else's crisis. No guilt trips about family obligations. Her breathing was calm, and her shoulders were relaxed in a way I'd never seen in all our years of friendship. The instructor walked by and complimented how much she'd improved since starting 6 months ago. Anna smiled and kept working the clay, finally shaping something that belonged only to her after a lifetime of being shaped by everyone else's expectations. You know what's really got me thinking? Watching someone figure out who they are when no one's tugging on them anymore. Like the way Anna's shoulders finally dropped. That moment hit different. Like the video, it helps more than you think.